As we head into the holiday season, we are replaying some of your favorite episodes from season 3 of Reproductive Rebel. One of your high demand episodes was the one where I sat down with Emma Moon and we talked about high vibrational spirit babies. Join us for this episode. It was such a good one, and I really hope that you enjoy hearing it again. Thank you so much for supporting Reproductive Rebel in 2024. And I am excited for all of the new conversations coming in 2025.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show.
Are you on the conception journey, trying to get pregnant, experienced loss, anywhere in that continuum? This is an episode you won't want to miss. Join us this week as I sit down with Emily Moon of Cosmically Nourished, and we talk about just why recurrent loss actually has been quite common lately, and what you can do to nourish your mind, body, and spirit in order to welcome in the spirit baby your heart longs for. Are you ready to rewrite the story your body's been carrying? Rebel Remembered is a transformational journey for every woman who's felt disconnected, silenced, or weighed down by period pain, fertility challenges, or the shifting tides of perimenopause and menopause. Led by the reproductive rebel, Adrienne Irizarry, this program weaves together goddess archetypes, body literacy, and the ancient healing art of sound. Here, you will find freedom in your body, reclaim joy, and release the intergenerational trauma that no longer serves you. Sister, it is time to remember your strength. Join Rebel Remembered and awaken the rebel within. Information about joining this transformational program is in the show notes. And now, back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. And I know I say this every single week, but I'm so excited for this week's guest. I say it every week because I have the most amazing people on the show, and this week is absolutely no exception. So join me in welcoming Emma Moon of Cosmically Nourished. Welcome, Emma.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
This is one of those interviews where I've been following her Instagram account, Cosmically Nourished, for a very long time. I totally resonate with her material, and I'm over the moon that she has agreed to join me for this episode today. So, Emma, tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I always say this is the hardest question to answer because who I am is really self-defined, and I had to really create this space. So I am a high frequency fertility guide. I used to be a registered nurse and quickly found out through my own hormone journey and my own self healing journey that space wasn't where my soul was meant to support and serve at its most aligned space. And I returned to school to receive 3 years of a holistic nutrition program and quickly found my niche and my passion in reproductive health fertility and conscious preconception support. So not only do I guide people on a holistic mind body level, I also bridge my intuitive gifts as a spirit baby medium to merge both science and spirit in the realm of spirit baby communication, fertility support, and really that conscious conception and fertility optimization space. So, what I do is pretty multifaceted and it really expands and evolves as I do as a mother myself. So, in this moment, that's what feels most alive.
I love this. And now, just with that introduction, can you see all why I've totally fallen in love with her and her account and her information? I practice very much from that mind body space as well. And one of the things that made me go, and this is the aligned time to reach out and no longer be a wallflower fangirl of her account and ask her for an interview is the fact that she had this beautiful reel that came out not all that long ago about high vibe spirit babies. And it so deeply resonated with me as I am getting ready to welcome my son into the world, who decided that he was going to hold out and wait for a while before it was an aligned time for him to come in. And this resonated so deeply for me because as a practitioner, I see women come into my practice all the time with their agenda, their timeline, and what it is that they feel needs to happen with their body in order to physically be prepared for this journey into motherhood. And yes, there's absolutely a physical component to it. We have a lot of things that batter our system around these days, from things that we consume, fragrances, diet, et cetera, et cetera. However, that's not the only component. And as a Chinese medicine practitioner, I believe that heaven and earth come together to create humanity. And there is a really big spiritual component to the conception process. And so that reel that Emma did just really resonated deeply with me because this is the part of the equation that I really feel like needs more love and attention because people think about it from a very physical place, which is why I love the fact that her background has some of that very biological focus to it. But she does such a beautiful job marrying it with that spiritual and emotional space. And the fact that it takes the trifecta in order to be able to create life, whether it's conception or to create your life, right? So creation can take on a really multifaceted, multidimensional kind of feel. And the way that she talks about the creation of life acknowledges all of those things, which just, I'm like, oh, she has to be on the show. So let's talk about high vibe babies and how you define them and how you're seeing them with your gifts and your experience.
Yeah. So thank you for that. I'm so honored for how you've reflected my work like that. It makes my heart so expansive to be seen in the true intention that I am putting out there, which I feel like everybody has this persona and this inquiry of, is my true message, my intention, my deep love for this work transcending and landing the way I want it to? So I loved having that reflected back because that's exactly the work I do and why I'm here. And my soul mission in this world is to merge mind, body, soul, spirit, emotion, all of it continuously. And when we talk about high vibrational spirit babies or the souls of our incoming children or any child or any soul, they really don't have an age. They are, especially right now, quite wise and really ascended and more evolved than a lot of us here on earth presently. So using the term of child or spirit baby always feels a little funny in my system. So you might hear me reference the incoming souls or these high vibrational beings or these enlightened souls that are coming in for their incarnation journey. And what I have gathered in connection with them and in the multitude of readings that I do for anyone who's wanting to call in a soul to join their family is that as the evolution and the consciousness of Earth is evolving, it is also opening up this portal of readiness to call in more evolved or ascended or enlightened beings that may not have been on Earth before, beings who haven't been here for a really long time, who have been holding out for Earth to figure its stuff out before coming through to do their work. And also a lot of beings from other planets or dimensions that have this love in their heart and they want to help support the trajectory of Earth in an aligned, beautiful, and healing space. So we're at this beautiful time where you and I have incarnated as what I call the bridge generation. For the first time in our lifetime and probably the last 5,000 years, we are shifting from the dimension and the space that our soul is at into being a conduit for a soul who has already gone through their spiritual awakening, their quantum leap, their ascension per se. We are holding these high vibrational beings within our body, which is also why it can take them a really long time to join us. B, we can have reoccurrent loss because of the challenges that they face, really connecting and anchoring into our body and the earth plane, our ability to hold such a high vibrational being within our energy field, and the mismatch between our environment and all of the things that we're putting in, on, and around our body, because these souls are much more susceptible, open, and sensitive to everything going on. So we are birthing a brand new generation of human. We are literally bridging two worlds so that these high vibrational beings, these enlightened children, come in knowing exactly who they are, where they came from, with their psychic channels wide open. They don't have to go through and undo all the trauma that we have been working so hard to clear from our entire intergenerational line. They get to just show up and be, and they get to be seen by us. They get to be held by us, and they get to jump right into their soul purpose and their gifts right from the get-go. So this is a really exciting time to be alive and to be this steward of this family, this parenting role. Our role as parents of these beings and calling ourselves up to hold space, doing our inner work so we can really hold this really beautiful, reflective, confident, safe space that they're a separate being than us. We're not going to project our own stuff on them anymore. We are just holding this beautiful ground to let them be exactly who they're meant to be in this world. So that is my quick and dirty definition of high vibrational beings, but it's so much more than that. And every single soul that comes in is completely unique on where they came from, how many times they've been here, if they've been here at all, and the reason that they're here.
Ooh, so much of that. I'm actually like wiping tears right now as we're having this conversation because you didn't even know at the beginning of this conversation that I've had 7 losses. And I knew I resonated deeply with your reel. Amazing how a 60 to 90-second snapshot can just so deeply hit you to the core of your soul. And to hear that definition and that explanation of a high vibrational being, I've known without a doubt that the son that I am getting ready to welcome into the world is one of these souls that are entering during this time. I've had 7 losses. It's taken me 8 years to conceive my son. And I do acutonics in the office, and he responds to certain fork frequencies. And while I get movement from him with all of them, the one that he resonates with the most, because literally every time I pick it up, he starts like wiggling around like a crazy man in there. The fork in the acutonic system is called zodiac, and the frequency represents our 25,000 year cycle through the entire zodiacal calendar. That is the one that he moves with. I pick up the fork and I haven't even struck it yet, and he knows. He has since I could first start feeling him move. I've had gifted people who have been laying on my table and they go, "Ooh, your son just came in hot and heavy." Like, and I'm like, and I have a purple fork in my hand. I am not shocked by this. So, like, there has been no doubt in the fiber of my being that my son is one of these high vibrational beings that are coming into the timeline right now. But to hear what you were saying about recurrent loss being common, I could feel it. Like, there were moments where it was like, I felt like I was on the brink of, like, yes, this is going to take. And then it was like no, this is not going to. And I had a lot of them very early on, between 7 and 9 weeks. And I just knew that it wasn't going to continue when it didn't continue. And so what you just said, like, hit all kinds of bells in my body because, like I said in the green room just before we got started, I have been doing a lot of soul work myself over the course of several years now. I really feel like it has shaped the way that I practice as a practitioner. Moon Essence, for anyone who's followed the Reproductive Rebel podcast for a while, my practice, Moon Essence, was birthed from my initial losses because I wanted to help others who are experiencing what I was experiencing. And the practice has evolved from that since then. But along that journey, I started doing my own soul level work as well and had one of the biggest spiritual awakenings I've had. I've had a few of them in my life, but probably the biggest shift in the way that I move and my vibrational energy and everything over the course of the last year. Again, if you've been part of the podcast, you can hear it in terms of what I was talking about 3 seasons ago and the fact that we're talking about high vibrational beings now. So as I've gone through this journey, I had this really big penultimate moment. And then my son literally came into existence 2 weeks later. So much of what you said, you're like, this is the quick and dirty version. And I'm just like, oh no, like, this is juicy. This is exactly what I want people to hear. Because we tend to be so focused on the physical. And I'm guilty of this too. The early stages of Moon Essence were very much about the physical body patterns that stand in the way of our goals. But then I started realizing very, very quickly it was so much bigger than that. And I've been sharing like my mother blessing journey and all of these pieces that are so important about how our preconception journey and pregnancy, it's a rite of passage. And there's this huge energetic component in terms of welcoming your child, your, whatever term you want to use for it, earth side. I'm so excited to hold him in my arms. And yet, I love this connection that I have with him right now because of how he responds to his environment. It is completely different. I've only had one other live birth. I had her 13 years ago. She is also one of these higher vibrational beings. There's no doubt in my mind. The things that this kid can, I mean, she's a young woman now, but like the things that she intuitively knows and picks up on, and the connection that she has with her brother. Like, he just knows that she's physically near my body and he moves in response. Like, it's the coolest thing. So, what is it about our current time that is allowing for, or the perfect door opening, portal, if you will, for these souls to be like, okay, now it's time.
such a great question. And I'd also love to circle back on a few really major points that you spoke about your journey. So I'm going to pin that in my mind here. After what we've been through in the last 4 years or so, we really are emerging from a place of fear and darkness. We are reemerging with a lot of us awakened to the powers that be, quote unquote. And in that collective hardship came a lot of really positive self reflection and a lot of priority shifting and a lot of spirits that were attempting to come into the world were holding off through that time to allow us to really figure things out. And so that we were on the upward trajectory towards a more positive, joyful, beautiful collective consciousness. Anytime we are governed by fear or worry or isolation, these are really low vibrational energy frequencies. And for any high vibrational being that is not in a body, so any soul that is incarnating, they are already at a dimension above where we are in a body. So coming down to earth, which in general is a very dense place, there's a lot going on here that it allows us to really experience the full spectrum of emotions and experiences. However, the incarnation process is already a super intense moment, integrating into a body, touching down at the point of implantation towards the end of pregnancy when that soul is really fully dropping into that body, and then into the gravitational force of birth that anchors in that soul fully. The incarnation process is already such a journey. So there's perhaps this choosing or this preference towards coming in at a time when consciousness and the overall mood of the earth is a little bit more joyful and hopeful. And I feel as though a lot of people were able to sit with their own thoughts, sit with their own values, and question everything that we have been taught as our truth, and to formulate our own sovereign belief systems around what is intuitively true for me. And that, as a collective learning opportunity, is a spiritual awakening moment. So, as a discussion on why these souls have been holding out and waiting for the right time to come through, and why they've been waiting, especially the last 4+ years, to come in now, because 2024, 2025, and beyond is a really special time. It's really because we as parents and we who have come and signed this soul contract with them to be their best guiding force, their earth guide, we got to face our inner shadows over the last 4 years. We got to question everything that was happening around us. And we got to formulate a really beautiful skill set of sovereign decision making and intuitive alignment on what feels good from our heart space rather from the mind and the logical. And that, in and of itself, on a soul level, is an incredibly potent initiation into the skill set we need as parents to be equipped to hold space and to teach and to really be the people we need to be for these high vibrational souls coming earthside.
Oh, I love that. I see so much of what you're saying in my own journey. And you now see why I was so excited to have her on. This is something that I resonate really deeply with because I was doing a lot of my own deep internal work over the course of the last year, but probably closer to 2 years around this very topic. And there's been a huge shift in terms of how I move through the world and how I feel. And I know that I'm bringing this all back to myself right now, but I'm seeing this with my clients too. Like, they are reaching out for things that are beyond what they can see with their senses. And they know that there's something else there that they either need to connect with, want to connect with, feel like is a missing part of themselves. and they haven't been able to quite put their finger on it. And when they start doing these things that not only help to heal their own soul's experience, their essence self, their inner child, whatever you want to call it, as they do those things and they have more joy in their life and they feel more connected with that little girl that they were at the very beginning, that all too often society disconnects us from for a variety of reasons, and that could be a whole episode in itself. But as they come back home to self, then all of a sudden their baby's like there. It's just like, boom, here we are. It's time.
I have so much to say to that. And I feel like this remembering, this returning back to wholeness, this realignment, the opening of our energy centers, that is one of the most potent things we can do for our fertility journeys. I say this to my clients. It's what I channel through over and over again. I'm teaching actually about the heart chakra in my course today. And what came through is that the one most potent thing you can do to move the needle towards successfully, consciously conceiving and successfully holding and bringing your baby to term is that return to who you truly are, why you came here, and ensuring that your life, your relationships, and your view of yourself reflect that intention, that soul purpose. So the more we can love ourselves, our partners, the life we've created for ourselves, the more our heart chakra opens, the more the unconditional love, which is the most high vibrational frequency that we can emit, it changes us on a cellular level, but also on a soul level. And recently, actually, in a meditation, I was shown that our spirit babies come through the portal of our heart. They transfer down through that solar plexus and they land within that womb chakra. So we need all of our energy centers to be in flow, but that heart, that solar plexus, and that womb, and then they move through that root chakra to really anchor in and connect themselves to the earth energy. But if our heart isn't a reflection of unconditional love for ourselves, the partner, and this soul and their divine timeline, without this preconceived projection of trying to control the situation, when we drop into that state of unconditional love, that is what allows them to actually merge with our body fully. And then they move through the solar plexus and really having that space of surrender, but really solid boundaries and that willpower to actually perform and do what we're here to do and set really strong values and speak up for ourselves. That's what directs that energy into that womb energy, that sacred flow, that balance of masculine and feminine. So coming back to wholeness, what can you do to align yourself to why you came here and who you are on a soul level? That rippled out into your physical health, your body's health, your spiritual health, and beyond. And it is the best thing you can do for your fertility.
Oh, I love this on so many levels. I did a post a few weeks ago that was literally the same day in gestation. So clearly, both of my children love coming in at a particular time of year because gestationally, I'm almost to the day that I was with my daughter. I'm like 2 days off, and she's 13 years old now, which is kind of wild to think about. But I did this side by side of two photos, one from the gestational age that I was with her, and then one with him. And I showed my husband the picture, and his jaw dropped. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, this looks like relatives. Like, not even the same person or sisters. Like, you don't even look like the same person." And I said, "Well, it's because I'm not. And I'm 13 years older. I am in my 40s now. And I look younger and happier. And, granted, there's a lot of the conditions of my life that are very different right now. But coming home to my calling in this lifetime. And I have no doubt in my mind that the work that I do in my soul and in my heart, in the fabric of my being, like I have no doubt that I'm doing exactly what I was put here to do. And it's why what I do has never ever felt like work. It just feels like the next step in helping the world be the best version of itself. And talk about an Aquarius humanitarian, right? Which I totally am, sun and moon both. So, I just feel like the most authentic version of myself in the work that I'm doing now. And this side by side photo, like I was trying to find that at that point in my life. I knew that I wanted to do something with health and wellness, but it hadn't totally taken form yet. And now here I am living my soul's calling. And even though my physical age is 13 years older, I look like a completely different person because I've come into alignment with what I'm supposed to do while I'm here. And it's reflected itself in my pregnancy and the health of my pregnancy in so many beautiful ways. So I really resonate with what you just said about when you come home to self and not the ego brain. Like, our ego brain tells us all kinds of things about who we are allegedly are supposed to be. This is what lives in our heart. And when you put your hands over your heart and you ask, what makes me feel good today? What makes me feel happy? How do I feel aligned? I spent a lot of time in that year before I conceived my son doing exactly that, putting my hands over my heart and asking her what she needed that day. And to hear you talk about everything coming in through the heart, it just makes complete sense to me that this is, unconditional love is that gateway, right?
Yeah. It's the gateway, it's the portal, and it's how new souls want to first initiate themselves into this journey is through the portal of unconditional love. And something you mentioned was that you are living your divine purpose right now. And what I see in practice a lot is that sometimes the loss of a pregnancy can be the most cataclysmic, soul awakening opportunity to shift what and who we thought we were into who we truly are on a soul level. And I'd love to take this moment to share that on a soul level, the child that has chosen to be a part of your family always has your best interest and the family's best interest and their siblings' best interest at heart. And they get this cosmic bird's eye perspective on past, present, future, and how it's all evolving simultaneously. So in the moment that they come in and they touch down in our womb, even if it is for the shortest amount of time possible, what I've been shown is that they get to anchor in light codes. They get to anchor in healing opportunities to transform us on a physical level so that our soul can remember just that much further who we are and what we're meant to do. And sometimes they continuously use that conception portal as a way to communicate to you that they're still there, that they're still making their way to you. But there's so much that needs to be done on a cosmic scale for both you and them to serve in the capacity that you're meant to serve. And a lot of the time, they partner with us to find and remember what we're meant to do so that they can be an ally, so that they can help you. And also from a spirit side, help the clients and the communities that we're here to help them remember their truest selves. So what I'm feeling from this soul's energy in your body and the story that you're sharing is that he has been with you every single step of the way. and has been happily partaking in the healing that you have been gifting others. And every single time that soul spent time in your womb, there was a gift of yourself brought back to you. And now there's this beautiful opportunity where you get to step beyond that, and the evolution and the change that happens through the birth portal and becoming their physical parent gets to quantum leap you and evolve you into the next version of what you're here and meant to do. And I see this so much with anyone who is here to remember what they're here to do, that is serving a community on a scale that is really helping that ripple effect for them to remember who they are. Sometimes we have this really prolonged time to having our baby in our arms. And it's because in the stars, written in the contract, in the destiny of every single person we touch, we hold, and we heal, we need more time to heal as many people as we can. Because when we're in the motherhood space, we do have to retract back, and we have to give that attention now to that baby. So it's something to also ask yourself, is my work my baby right now? Am I co-creating this? Am I really nurturing this space? And do I have enough essence, energy, vitality to give what I'm giving to my work and my clients to this child coming through? So really sitting in that space of inquiry for people, I think, is really beautiful, and knowing that it's all unfolding exactly the way it's meant to.
Oof. So I was wiping tears the whole time you were sharing that beautiful transmission, because I've lived this every step of the evolution of Moon Essence has had a loss attached to it, where I've been pushed in a new direction. I've been challenged to re-envision something. I mean, my last loss in 2021 was the birth of my holistic women's health practitioner program. That had to happen, because right now I have one of my graduates who has stepped in to hold the work container so that I can be on leave with this little person. And as I've looked back at all of my losses, I have had this reflection over time. And I've acknowledged this actually consciously, and I've talked to my husband about it, that every time that we have gotten pregnant and it's resulted in a loss, there is something that needed to happen in the practice. And that loss ended up being a catalyst for exactly where it needed to go next. And I had been able to hold an immense amount of gratitude for every single one of those losses, because I know at the deepest levels of my body that they have moved me where I needed to go to be able to serve the way that I was intended to. The last one was the one I was angry about for the longest time, because I could not for the life of me figure out the meaning, the why. It didn't make itself apparent to me. And I think my grief spiral was probably the deepest in 21. And then all of a sudden, right around Lionsgate, there was this, oh, this is why it happened. This is the next step of what I'm supposed to do. And it was wild when I realized that it was time to start training practitioners to do what I do for work. That I also had this massive attrition of energies that no longer served me either. It was like professional relationships that fell apart and like all of these kinds of things. And it really felt like the end of the world in a lot of ways, because these energies left my life and they had played a big role in my practice and the way that it was functioning to date. I had started to launch this program. It hadn't fully gelled in terms of how it was going to look yet. So yeah, I had lost my pregnancy. I was almost out of the first trimester. Like there were just a whole bunch of things that had just felt like death and loss and death and loss and death and loss. And I'm like, what am I supposed to make with this? So 8 months later, like everything clicked. It was like, this happened and here's why. And now to see when my son came through, I wouldn't have been able to change my energy like you were talking about in terms of being focused on my practice baby and being able to come home to take care of my physical baby if I hadn't done the things that I've done between 21 and now. And I have a beautiful sound healing practitioner that is holding the space for the sound healing side of my practice. I trained her. I have a beautiful practitioner that is a graduate of my holistic women's health practitioner program who is holding space with the other half of what I do for work. And it's like my practice is thriving. And I have been able to physically step back, and it like one of the first times I've really been able to like trust fall when it comes to this aspect of my work and know that I'm completely and fully held by these two beautiful souls that found me as I was manifesting the energy that I wanted to have in my practice and what I wanted to bring into the world. And now, like, they truly have my back and they're taking the very best care of the clients in my practice as I've been navigating. So, what is my role in all of this now? Which has been a weird liminal space to be because this practice is a birthing from my soul. You know, what is it going to look like? Is it vibrationally going to stay the same? Like, all of these things have come through and I've been navigating as I've been getting closer to my birthing journey and realizing that every single one of those losses helped guide me here. So what you said just really deeply touches me, and I'm sharing my experience because that is what, like, I just so deeply resonated with your reel. And now as we're talking, like, I'm having a lot of aha moments, and I hope that the audience, as they're listening, they're like, oh, this is a different way of looking at some of the things that have come my way in my life. And they have provided healing opportunities. So if I'm going to talk about it like a practitioner for a second, postpartum is one of your golden opportunities for healing. And it doesn't matter whether you've had a full-term pregnancy or you've had an early loss. The number of weeks that you were pregnant is the number of weeks you treat your body like you're healing, like you're in the true postpartum. And I've capitalized on every single one of those moments and fed my body a certain way and allowed myself time to grieve and did the work in terms of the physical, emotional, and spiritual healing that I needed to do in each of those moments. And not only has it given me perspective, but it has physically helped me heal my body to be able to receive where I'm at now. And it's a completely different frame for pregnancy loss and miscarriage. It's a completely different frame, and it flips the script from why is this happening to me, which is a very, very easy space to go into. Trust me, it's a very easy space to go into. And instead of it being a why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Why is it that everybody else around me is getting pregnant and I can't, right? You shift into what gift is it giving me? Where is there gratitude that can be paid here? Yes, this hurts at a soul level. The anguish is, there are just no words, but at the same time, like, it gave healing opportunities for my physical body. It gave healing opportunities for my relationship with my husband. Our relationship is in a completely different place as a result of our journeys at this point. And it's not that we weren't happy before, but like the depth of joy and happiness and trust and all of those things, like, the longer you go along, the richer they become, right? And we've grown together through this process. It's a very different experience from the first loss to the most recent one. He held me in a completely different way when this happened. It changed the dynamic of our relationship for the better. And it can be a very isolating thing. And sometimes it can create a wedge in relationships. And that's more where we were at the beginning. And we continued to evolve every time this happened. So, you know, looking at recurrent miscarriage as the divine giving us gifts, moments to rise, opportunities to heal. I just love that you said that because, like, I had an acknowledgement of that. I would say it probably took me 3 or 4 years to get to that point, but then, hindsight's 2020. You go back and you look at what came before and you go, "Oh, there was a big shift here, and there was a big shift here, and, oh, this is very different here, and that wouldn't have happened if this hadn't happened." It's just a totally different frame and container for
Yeah.
why these kinds of things happen. So thank you so much for sharing that because I really feel, especially for those who are listening, who have experienced loss, but definitely when you've experienced recurrent loss as a woman, because it's one of those things that hits you at the deepest level of, well, this is supposed to be the most basic thing that my body can do. And for some women, it makes them feel like less of a woman.
Yeah.
And for some couples, it is a huge stratifying wedge in their relationship. And both parties at some level feel some degree of quote unquote failure. And many try to rationalize it with their ego brain. And I'm totally guilty of this. So I'm not saying this from a place of, I haven't been in that lower vibration before. I totally have. I mean, that was really kind of the early incarnation of Moon Essence was, well, if I'm physically having this problem, then other people are too. So let me find solutions because feeling the way that I feel right now feels really gross. And each time my vibration has changed, my perspective has changed, the way I connect with it and I feel about it has changed. The questions that I ask Source change. Like, what am I supposed to take from this, learn from this? How am I supposed to grow from this? And being able to ask questions like that instead of staying in that victim state, which is so much lower vibration, it makes you one step closer every single time to being able to be the portal for that soul to come in.
One step closer every time to being in the frequency, to being in the essence of who that spirit baby needs you to be when they come through. And to hear you hold both the grief and the gratitude simultaneously, and to reflect with, wow, in hindsight, what a gift that time was. How much I got to know about myself, how much I got to deepen my relationship, how much I got to do and serve and heal and hold space for others in that opportunity. What a gift, right? So holding the spiritual mindset, that inner knowing, that intuitive connection, that line of communication that we all have with our spirit babies is one of the most healing things we can hold alongside our fertility and pregnancy loss journeys. I truly believe it. So I think that a lot of people are going to resonate with what you shared. And I think there's a huge opportunity for people to reflect and know that they can hold grief and gratitude simultaneously. And it's not about overwriting it or moving past it or through it. It's that both can be true. We can hold the grief of what has happened, and we can also hold gratitude for the gift that it has offered in the experience. Anytime a soul is in our womb is an immense moment of connection and healing that cannot happen at any other level in our human existence. We are holding another soul in our body that has a direct line to how we're feeling, our senses, our personality, our desires. And not only is it a time where they get to help us heal, they too, as a high vibrational being, they get to experience Earth through the lens of our body. They get to see through our eyes. They get to hear through our ears. They get to experience what we are experiencing. And for some, they need to come in and do it quite a few times to feel comfortable with the full incarnation. They go back, they tell their siblings, they tell their friends, they go and they learn more, they prepare themselves, and they keep coming back. And it's confirmation for any of you who are experiencing loss or reoccurrent loss. That is direct proof that there is a soul who is coming through to you. And they are not only supporting you in becoming who they need you to be, they are proving to you over and over and over that they're not giving up either, that they are coming and that they will repeatedly keep coming until the circumstances are this beautiful blend of what they need to be exactly who they want to be, who they're meant to be in this life.
Oh, I love that so much. I feel like I could talk to you all day long because this has just been such a beautiful conversation for me. And I know I feel in the bones. And if you are not currently following Emma on Cosmically Nourished, you definitely should be. She shares all of these beautiful kernels of wisdom and these beautiful transmissions on a regular basis. She's one of my favorite accounts to follow. So thank you, Emma, so much for joining us today. And if you were to leave our audience with the end of this episode with a kernel of what to think about, feel into, meditate on, however they choose to use this wisdom, what would it be?
That life is working for you. It's not working against you. You get to create your reality through your beliefs, through your experience, how you respond to every circumstance that comes your way. And you are so much more magical and powerful than you think in your intention and mindset and the energy you emit. So life truly is working for you. And to hold that mindset of unconditional love and return to wholeness as your path towards a successful, easeful, conscious conception.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, aside from Instagram and Cosmically Nourished, which I have mentioned a few times, if people want to reach out and work with you, how is the best way to reach you?
Yeah, you can slide into my DMs on Instagram. You can reach me on my website, cosmicallynourished.com. And I'm actually launching an app called The Milky Way, and it's full of spirit baby and fertility meditations, affirmations, a community space to connect, recipes, articles. That's where I host all of my courses and workshops. And anybody inside of the app gets first dibs on any of my spirit baby readings. And that will be linked right on my Instagram bio. So if you are interested in joining, you can get a free trial to test the waters. And it's the baby I'm birthing presently. And I'm so excited to really help people connect to their own intuition, their own power to utilize and direct their own energy. And especially my passion has pivoted so much in the last year to support people in connecting to their spirit babies on their own. You don't need an outside force. Sometimes it feels great to be confirmed and held in that sacred space, but you are a conduit of energy. You have the ability to communicate and connect to your spirit baby all on your own. So there's guided meditations that support you in facilitating that connection journey.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we will have all of that information in the show notes. Such an amazing resource. Thank you again so much for your time and sharing your talents and wisdom and downloads with our audience today. It has been such a pleasure talking with you, Emma, and I really hope that we have an opportunity to do this again.
Yes, I would love that so much. I have a really fun collab idea I want to talk to you about. So thank you so much for having me. It is such an honor to be able to share this information and really spark this remembering to anybody who listens.
Thank you. And I'm totally down for a collab, my friend. So, so put your hands on your heart now that we're here at the conclusion of this episode, and take a couple of cleansing breaths and really drop into your heart space and just ask her what she needs in order to feel loved and supported today. And that truly is the beginning of this journey.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.